In this lesson we will discuss how to manage Windows with Ansible Tower. So how do we set it up? Well, as you know, Ansible Tower can be used to manage many assets, including Windows. In fact, Ansible Tower is just a web front end that can do the same thing as Ansible Engine. The only thing to be aware of is that the approach in Ansible Tower is sometimes a little bit different. First thing that you need to know is that there are no credentials that allow you to specify that WinRM needs to be used as a remote connection mechanism. So that means that you need the ordinary machine credentials, and you need to tweak the connection a little bit by using inventory-based variables. That may sound surprising, but inventory-based variables have made their return, especially in Ansible Tower environments, because it's a convenient way to specify how you want to reach out to manage assets with Ansible. So Ansible connection needs to be set to WinRM, that's for sure, because otherwise Ansible is going to use SSH and that's not going to work. Then optionally you can set Ansible port to 5986, but the port is already 5986 by default for WinRM. You do need Ansible WinRM server cert validation to be set to ignore, because if it's not set to ignore, you will get certificate validation errors. And optionally, but this all depends on the connection mechanism, you can set Ansible WinRM transport CRED SSP. If you don't use CRED SSP, you will use SSL-based connection. And SSL-based connection is exactly what we have set up the Windows host for in lesson 1. So in this demo, we are not going to use the WinRM transport as CRED SSP. Now, before we continue, let's talk about Windows Become. In Ansible, normally you have privilege escalation, and the -B option to become somebody else is pretty important. That is how it works in Linux. But in Windows, the way we have set it up is where we are using a user with administrator privileges. And if you already have administrator privileges, you do not need to specify privilege escalation. So make sure that you turn off privilege escalation. Of course, there is the become method run as, and you can configure your Windows environment to use a run as, but that's not what we are going to do here. We are going to use the administrator account to manage the Windows environment. So next, you are almost ready to proceed. You need to make sure that Windows is in a manageable state, as described in lesson 1. And yes, I know there are many ways to make Windows manageable. We go for the easy environment with the administrator user and the SSL-based connections. Then you need to create machine credentials to log into the Windows-based Ansible user using a password and not an SSH key, obviously, because SSH is not what you use in the Windows environment. And then you will be able to run the playbook against the managed Windows host. Let me show you. So here we are back on the Tower machine, and on Tower we are going to start with the inventory. So I'm creating a new inventory especially for my Windows environment, and I'm calling it Winventory. So before specifying any properties, I'm clicking save, and then I'm adding my host, and the host is windows.example.com. Let me save that, and I want this host to be a part of a group as well, for the simple reason that in my playbook I'm referring to the group with the name Win. And if I don't have that group right here, then it's not going to work. So I need to get back to my main screen, and there I'm clicking the groups item, and I am adding a new group using plus. So Win is the name of the group. Saving it, and then I need to add a host. So I will add an existing host, and the existing host is windowsexample.com. Right, now I can get back to the main screen, and in the main screen I'm clicking on my host, Here we have the host. And on the host, I am going to add my variables. So in these variables, I need Ansible connection to be set to WinRM. And I need Ansible WinRM server cert validation to be set to ignore. That's basically all. So let me click save. Let's validate that we have this group membership. And yeah, we have the group win, and that makes it all right. And that completes a part of my inventory. Okay. I'm not using any other variables because I want to keep it very simple. I don't need the CRED SSP because I've not set up CRED SSP on my Windows host. And the Ansible port, which was on the slide, well, that's a default port. So there's no need to set it. Next, the credentials. Let's call it Win credentials. And the Win credentials apply to the default organization. And the credentials are of the credential type machine. This is just the ordinary machine credentials. So what do we get? I need to enter my username. My username is Ansible. And for some reason, the browser cache is filling it into the password. I want to make sure that I'm using the right password, which is the password of my Ansible user on the Windows machine. Now, this is a part where I'm specifying the Ansible user. And the Ansible user being an administrator user, I don't need anything else. So I don't need no privilege escalation method. I don't need no privilege escalation username because there's nothing behind it. I'm just going in straight as the Ansible user who is an administrator. So I'm clicking save. Then there's the projects. Now, how about the projects? Well, the project is just a connection to the Git repo, and the Git repo that I want to use is this Tower Git repo. So that is totally fine with me. The only thing you might want to do every now and then on your project is refresh it. So click on this button to get the latest SCM revision to make sure that you have access to the latest and greatest playbooks in your projects. And now we can proceed and continue to create the job template. So I am getting in my templates and clicking plus for the job template, and I'm calling it WinJobs. The job type is run. The inventory, that is my inventory, so that's WinVentory. The project is going to be my project. And then we need to select the playbook. Well, I want to run the playbook. The playbook, not a very creative name, I know, but that's a playbook that was written to be executed on a Windows environment. And then the credentials. So in the credentials, I'm selecting my Win credentials. And for the remainder, I don't need anything else. So I'm clicking save. And I'm scrolling down a little bit, and I'm going to launch it. And let's see how this is working out. And hey, what's that? I'm getting a message. A connection plugin WinRM was not found. Connection plugin WinRM. That's weird. That should be working. Let's double check. It might be something really silly. So on the inventory, that is where I'm setting my connection plugin. So we have the hosts, and on the hosts, I have my connection WinRM comma. That ain't gonna work. So let's save that. Let's get back to the template and let's just run it again. And as you can see, we passed fact gathering. And if you pass fact gathering, at least that makes sure that all your connection is working all right. And right now it's working on creating the Windows users. This user might already exist. We don't care because that is what Ansible idempotency is all about. So this is how you set up Ansible Tower to manage a Windows environment.